I wanted to do something where I basically do a Throwback Thursday for wrestling. On my TikTok account, I actually do like a pop quiz for Throwback Thursday, but I wanted to actually like talk about something too. I feel like it's a nice way going down memory lane, those moments you really liked, or even, I'll probably talk about things that weren't so lovable as well, maybe among most people. I just like the, let's take a look back type of thing, right? So for this week, I want to do the list of Jericho. Some context. The list of Jericho was basically Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. They were best friends at the time, and also Kevin Owens is the champion. Mick Foley is the general manager of Raw. So during this time, the issue was Chris Jericho felt like Mick Foley was not being, we'll say, fair to him and Kevin Owens. He thought he was, purposely doing things to basically mess up their lives. So basically, Chris Jericho comes out on Raw. It's like 2016, I believe this happens. He comes out on Raw, and he has this list, and he just starts like basically saying, I feel like Mick Foley has not been fair to me and my best friend Kevin Owens. And he basically created the list of Jericho. And this list in particular, starting off with it originally, is just his grievances with Mick Foley. But it's also like a funny take on it. He's like, his fashion sense, I don't like that. I don't like this about him, and this about him, and this about him. And he's just going off. And then it becomes a thing where he interacts with the crowd while he's doing this. And basically there's like, I guess, a person in the crowd that have braces. So I guess they're booing or something. And he's just like, you just made the list too, brace face. And he just like gets his pen and he just writes it down. And this was great because it became a thing. It wasn't just like, I'm mad at you, Mick Foley. That's it. It became a thing for everyone. Everyone felt the wrath of Chris Jericho and his list. Multiple storylines. There's a point where the New Day have the tag titles, and Chris Jericho kind of tries to convince Kevin Owens that they should go for those titles. And it gets to the point where everybody's making the list. Every time Chris Jericho's faces somebody, every time he could be backstage, celebrities could come. Like, it could just build up, and then it's just like, blah, blah, blah. You just made the list. And he'll whip out that pen and his notepad, and he'll just like, and your name is going on the list. And, maybe your reason why he didn't, like you, or his grievance with you, or whatever it is, but it was great. It became a thing, the crowd got behind it, even like the crowd participation in it was great, because it's like you have people chanting with him because it's like anticipation, like soon as you see him do the notepad, soon as you see him whip the pen out, and he, the whole thing, you're just waiting for him to say it, which, is a big thing with wrestling in general. We have a lot of chants, we like to say, and you just made the list was great. And Chris Jericho building up the anticipation for it was great, because it's just kind of a pause, and then it's just like, you just made the list, and then he's just like, da da da, and we're all saying it, and it was great. So the drama. So basically what happens is the list goes on for a bit, and it's a hoot. It's a hoot. I know for me personally, I loved it. I think that for me, like, I love Chris Jericho in general. I think he's a great wrestler. He's entertaining. Like, Chris Jericho is somebody I personally feel like Chris Jericho does not get enough credit, if I'm being honest. When we have these Mount Rushmore of wrestling conversations, we have these who's your GOAT conversations. I feel like I would love if more people did bring up Chris Jericho, because Chris Jericho has done a lot. He's the GOAT. Like, he's the GOAT. Definitely for me, flowers given to Chris Jericho. He's amazing. So the list gimmick for me is definitely one of my favorite gimmicks Chris Jericho has done. And I think that's one of the things I really like about Chris Jericho too, is, Chris Jericho's been wrestling for a really long time. And, some wrestlers, they wrestle for a while, maybe their characters go stale, or maybe, things aren't really hitting off with the crowd anymore. And I feel like Chris Jericho is somebody I personally never felt that way with. I feel like me watching Chris Jericho, I'm always entertained. I'm always intrigued to see what he does next. I'm always invested in his matches. Like, he's somebody for me, he just always did it for me. Like, never a dull moment, ever. I've never been like, oh, why is Chris doing this right now? Like, he's always delivered for me personally. So back to what I was really just talking about. Shout out to Chris Jericho, by the way, you're great. But the list gimmick, basically the issue becomes, Kevin Owens has the title. And the issue becomes Chris Jericho kind of takes it upon himself to kind of start putting Kevin Owens in situations, per se. It could be a situation where somebody may want a shot at the title and Chris Jericho's like, Kevin will do it. But it's like, you have to be mindful, like, I'm fighting this match for my title, not you. So the issue in that comes a festival of friendship happens, where this is basically Chris Jericho giving Kevin Owens, a festival of friendship, basically. And he's basically showing his appreciation, and he's like, I've been wrestling for a while. I've had a lot of friends. I've met a lot of guys, but like, no one compares to you. You're my best friend. I love you, blah, blah, blah. And it's this whole setup. Like, there's this funny picture, like this art picture of like Kevin Owens and a title around him. And it's very like Italian painter type of, like, I don't even know, but it's hilarious. The whole setup is hilarious. But he's very vulnerable, like, you're my best friend, I love you. And even going back to them being best friends, they were locked in. They used to do this whole thing like, you're my best friend, you're my best friend. Like, they were besties to the T. So Chris Jericho does the appreciation friendship festival of friendship, and basically Kevin's like, thank you for all this, I really appreciate it and whatnot. And he's like, I have a gift for you. And basically the gift is a list. And Chris Jericho's like, oh my god, you got me a new list, my old one was getting long, and blah blah blah. Because mind you, he's been a menace to society and writing down literally anybody's name you could think of that he felt like it, which is probably the whole roster, if we're gonna be honest. So he's like, oh my gosh, a new list, blah blah blah. So he looks and he's just like really like excited, and he's like, why is my name on the list? And then Kevin goes ballistic. Kevin attacks that man all over that arena, not arena, but he just attacks him. He throws him into like a TV monitor situation, some glass. Like, it got crazy, and then they end up having feud. But while that gimmick was on, I loved every bit of it. Again, it's Chris Jericho. I feel like for me, it's very difficult for me not to like something Chris Jericho does, because he's the GOAT. He's one of the GOATs, in my opinion. And again, I wish more people would bring him up. I don't know. It's always interesting that like a lot of people don't as much. You get, I don't want to say generic Mount Rushmores, because people like, you like what you like, but I feel like he's somebody that definitely should be in the fold more. But that is my Throwback Thursday, the list of Jericho. Thank you for watching. Bye. Have a good day.